On any given Friday night in the fall, Murfreesboro Young Life sends out dozens of Young Life leaders all across the city to high schools to win the friendship of lost teenagers.
Laughter is the only thing that'll keep you sane. In this world that's dying more and more every day. Don't let evil get you down in this madness that's spinning round and around.
Wherever high school kids go, that's where we want to be.
As long as they desperately seek love in all the wrong places.
As long as high school kids limp through life enslaved by drugs, alcohol, and sex.
That's where I want to be, not in the adult section where it's respectable and controlled, but right in the middle of the kids.
Where the lost, wounded, and often profane long to be loved by someone who loves them.
I want to be found right there where God has positioned me to shine forth His light.
As long as there is an enemy who can convince his victims that tomorrow doesn't matter and will not find them.
As long as there is a God who seeks to redeem those whom He has called to His side.
As long as God calls me to chase after high schoolers, I'll man my post, right there in the middle of all that chaos, right there in the middle of the student section.
I met my Young Life leader outside the cafeteria when I was a junior in high school.
Well, Allie would always come to my soccer games, which was like really weird because nobody comes to high school girls' soccer games.
And I usually didn't pay much attention to him at all. I kind of wondered why the guy was there.
Laura was always around. She came to lunch, she came to football games, basketball games.
When I met Janae, I saw a lot of myself in her, which is really what drew me to her.
High school was this time in my life where I spent a lot of time doing things for me.
Before I met Jesus, I was constantly searching for something, searching to be loved, searching to be the center of attention.
Before I met Christ, I was lonely. I kind of feel like I was on the outside looking in a lot of the time and didn't really know how to fit in to the world.
I didn't know what it meant to have a relationship with God and how to love others the way that God does until I met Laura and until how she taught me to have grace.
And my Young Life leader, John, invited me to go to a Young Life camp called Rockbridge in Virginia. And it was there that I gave my life to Christ.
And something inside me changed because she loved me for who I was, but loved everybody else for who they were as well.
I don't think my story is much different than most that have been blessed and or touched by Young Life, the ministry as a whole. As a sophomore in high school, I was wondering what this older guy at his ripe old age of 30 was doing, just coming to our cafeteria and hanging out with us. I came to know him and he invited me to Windy Gap my sophomore year of high school. It wasn't until I opened my eyes and listened of what the message actually was, and that's where my leader really brought that into perspective for me, and it was that next summer that it really rang true. And from there, I realized that there was more to becoming and knowing Christ as a Christian and starting that walk, of which through Young Life I did. Oh, I'm convinced if it wasn't for Young Life, I would be either in jail or dead. And I don't mean that in a flippant way, but between the leader and my involvement with Young Life and now seeing that evolve into my two children, it's a great ministry, and it just goes where the kids are and loves them for who they are. Through that, I'm very thankful for them loving me for where I was and bringing me to where I am today.
If you've ever been to a football game in Murfreesboro on a Friday night, you can't help but notice the two worlds that collide. In one section, you have the adults, and then in the other, this crude, reckless, uncontrollable world of lost teenagers. But if you ever take a minute to glance over into that world, you may notice some adults standing, laughing, and cheering amongst the high school kids. There's a good chance those adults are Young Life leaders. We do this in hopes that we might step into their lives, give them a meaningful confrontation with the God of the universe, and share with them the story of Jesus Christ and His great love for them. And it's not just at football games. It's going to the cafeteria. It's going to practices. It's going to wherever kids are. It's doing this thing we call discipleship through small group Bible studies called campaigners. It's everywhere kids are, because that's where we want to be. We believe that in going to where kids are, we model Jesus Christ and His great love for us.
As an adult, the question to ask is not, what is the price of having Young Life here? The question we should be asking is, what is the price of not having Young Life here?
As a parent, I don't want to fathom that. I don't want to comprehend that. It is such a great ministry, and we as a community need to wrap our arms around it and embrace this ministry and support it in any way, shape, or form.
It is worth every penny that we spend, every dollar that we donate. Young Life is impacting kids in Murfreesboro, and it matters.
I will always remember in my head and my heart my Young Life leader, Bob Bingham.
Janae Kennedy.
Allison Drinkwine.
Brandon Henry.
Krista Crabtree.
John Millard.
Robin Morris.
And my life will never be the same.
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 In Young Life, we take seriously the words of Christ, as He said, if you want to find life, you've got to lose your life for my sake in the gospel. This is what we're doing. This is what we're inviting you into. To be a part of something huge, something that really matters, something that's been impacting thousands of people thus far, but will keep impacting in the generations to follow. This is your invitation. Thanks for letting us tell you our story.